In our ongoing study of the Word of God, we will now teach you the truth about who is the woman of Revelation 12 and who is her child. The woman is not Mary, and the child is definitely not Jesus. If this is news to you, then sit back and enjoy the rest. Now, the book of Revelation is about future events. Remember, Jesus gave John the revelation. At this point, Jesus had already been crucified, spent 3 days in hell, rose bodily never to die again, went to heaven, came back from heaven, and finally gave John the revelation, who then gave it to us. And at present, Jesus is already seated on the right hand of God in heaven, waiting for the Father to put an end of the rebellion on this planet called Earth. Now, Joseph had a dream. If you take a look at Genesis 37:9, you'll see, and it clearly states, "And he dreamed yet another dream, and told his brethren, and said, Behold, I have dreamed a dream more. And behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obedience to me." Okay, so this is Joseph dreams. Okay, and this guy was a dreamer, much like Martin Luther, but this one is a biblical dream. Okay, so just remember where we get the sun, the moon, and the 11 stars. Don't forget, Joseph is also part of the family, so he would make the 12th star. Okay, now if we go into Micah 5:1, we'll see it says, "Now gather thyself in troops, O daughter of troops. He had laid siege against us." Well, that's the Romans. Okay, "And they shall smite the judge of Israel with a rod upon the cheek." Now, who is the judge of Israel? If you had the Jewish version of the Bible, you would see that just before the judge, there's a number there. And that number is H853. It doesn't show up in the English King James Version, but in the Jewish version, it's there. And 853, okay, is a Strong's number for the Aleph Tav. And who is the Aleph Tav? Well, it's the Alpha and Omega. And who is the Alpha and Omega? It's Jesus. So the judge of Israel is Jesus. Okay, we'll get to that a little later on. Now, because the Jews rejected their judge, okay, and they crucified him on the cross with the help of the Romans, okay, this is what God says in Micah 5:3. Therefore will he give them up until the time that she which travaileth had brought forth. Then the remnant of his brethren shall return unto the children of Israel. So let's take a look at 5:3 again. Therefore will he give them up. This is God the Father now giving up Israel as a nation. Okay, and that's why they're scattered. And that's why I got Jewish community here in Montreal, and there's a bigger community in New York, and they're all over the world, and they're scattered because they rejected the judge, the Aleph Tav, the Alpha and Omega, Jesus. And let's take a look at Isaiah 66:7. Now, before she travaileth, she brought forth. Before her pain came, she was delivered of a man-child. This is the first mention of a man-child. And we all know that the woman represents national Israel. So who is this man-child? Well, it's not Jesus. It's the 144,000 born-again Jews that are going to be born again in the land of Israel just before the woman travails. Okay? And if you take a look at Revelation 12:5, it basically says the same thing. And she brought forth a man-child, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up unto God and to his throne. Now, there are going to be those that says, well, Jesus is supposed to rule with a rod of iron. Well, I'll give you a little bit of news flash for you guys. Not only Jesus will rule with a rod of iron, all born-again Christians that are going to be raptured will rule with a rod of iron. All the tribulation saints that have died in their faith by losing their heads, okay, will also rule with a rod of iron, including these man-child, 144,000 Jews, which will be the firstborn, okay, of the nation of Israel, okay, will also rule with a rod of iron. For that is the purpose of sending people to heaven, okay? God is not taking people to heaven to take sun core temperatures or fix up, planetary alignments and stuff like that. We're going to be kings and priests in the New Jerusalem. Okay? And the last two that are going to die and so forth and also rule with a rod of iron will be Elijah and who else? That's right, Enoch. So, hopefully you understand once and for all who this woman is and who the child is. And this way, when you're watching these YouTube videos of these clowns predicting dates and of constellations and Jupiter going through these things, you'll see that none of this can take place, okay, until the church is raptured. And then the events all take place in the last 7 years of this age. So as long as there's one Christian left on this planet, Revelation 12 cannot take place. It takes place 3.5 years after the Christians, the born-again people, have been removed from this planet. I hope this sticks into your head once and for all. If you have any questions, email us, call us, write to us. We're on Facebook, Twitter, you name it, you can find us. And if you can't find us, well, how you listen to this message in the first place? Thank you, and good night.